Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's your reluctant gringo back again, and today we must address the aftermath of the proxy fight between Nelson Peltz and Bob Iger for seats on the Disney board. There is a lot to digest here, including Bob Iger unable to pass up a chance to give an interview today on CNBC and take a couple of victory laps and spin a few false truths. So let's take it piece by piece. First, I said it before it happened, and I will take my own victory lap here. There was no way Nelson Peltz was going to come close to winning his battle against Iger. Peltz lost his bid by a 2-to-1 ratio, only getting about 30% of the votes he needed from investors. His partner lost even bigger, by a 5-to-1 ratio. Basically, they got crushed. It was a landslide victory for Iger and the current board members at Disney, so anyone who thinks anything is going to change at the House of Mouse in terms of direction, focus, activist agenda, social messaging, and just overall lack of quality with major releases is just plain wrong. All of the YouTubers and internet scoopers who posted video after video about how Iger was finished and Disney was in trouble and the end was near, well, I said it before and I'll say it again. It was all clickbait and a lot of you fell for it. One last time to all of you. I believe that the audience is smart, including my audience, but sometimes our hopes and emotions get the better of us and we start to believe the unfounded statements and conclusions some famous YouTube personalities peddle. The reality has been and will continue to be this. Bob Iger is someone who knows how to survive, and he is the equivalent of the alpha-level predator in the wild. His environment just happens to be the entertainment business. He's not going anywhere. His focus on the culture war is not going anywhere, despite what he said back in September of 2023.
Look, the last thing that I want for the company is for the company to be drawn into any culture wars.
8 months prior to this quote, Disney released such massive hits as The Little Mermaid live-action remake, Elemental, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the only one to turn a small profit. At the same time, the much-hyped new Snow White remake delivered internet infamy in the form of Rachel Zegler, essentially tanking that project for the short term. So when Bob Iger said he wanted to quiet the noise, he was not speaking about the content Disney was putting out, because in the following months we got the cinematic gems The Marvels and Wish. No, what Bob Iger was talking about was his fight with Florida over the parental rights bill and how Disney was supporting the ability for activist educators to sexually groom children starting in kindergarten. Disney lost their special tax status in this fight, and Ron DeSantis looked like he actually might become president. But this fight was all for show, on both sides. Iger was maneuvering to get back Disney's special privileges with quotes like this, and when Governor DeSantis bowed out because the Trump train ran him over again and again and again.
Stop! He's already dead.
Well, DeSantis, he turned back into a politician interested in one thing, keeping his job, which means he could not allow massive job loss in his state if Disney made an extreme move like they threatened to. So they cut a deal which essentially gave Disney back their ability to influence real estate development in Central Florida. Then came Nelson Peltz. And in a weird way, Elon Musk, everybody's favorite billionaire, who says a lot of cool things, but really, what has he actually done in terms of battling against the woke agenda? Not much. Then came the internet personalities telling us Peltz was going to do it. He was going to win. He was going to finally get to Bob Iger, someone who is as insulated as a mafia godfather, with supporters like Lorraine Jobs, George Lucas, and Jamie Dimon, all of who had significant financial risk in terms of stock value that they were not willing to give up. Essentially, the wagons were circled around Bob. Peltz lost big time, and Iger remains at the top of Space Mountain as overlord of the biggest entertainment company in the world. What does a person with an ego the size of Bob Iger do after winning this second victory? Go on CNBC, of course, and give an interview to David Faber, a truly horrible interviewer who seemed intimidated by Iger's presence, but really was probably reading from a pre-approved script of questions. A real journalist would have pressed for answers. A real journalist would have dug for substance. A real journalist would not have allowed Iger to spin such fantastical webs of lies to bolster his own legacy. But unfortunately, David Faber is not a real journalist. He's a corporate personality there to help juice the Disney stock price. So take the interview for what it's worth. However, there were a few notable items that came out of Bob's mouth. The first that needs to be addressed is how he totally dismissed his own accountability in Disney's decline and places it all on the shoulders of Bob Chapek, and then steers the interviewer away from getting any type of clarification. Of course, this is all bullshit. Bob Chapek became CEO on February 25th, 2020, and if you don't think Iger and the rest of the board knew what was coming in terms of COVID and lockdowns and work stoppages, you are wrong. At the time, I worked in another high-profile company, Apple, and we were preparing for at least 3 months before the March lockdowns even began. There were contingency plans, work-from-home plans, all sorts of plans in place to ensure business would continue. I have zero doubt, that the executives at Disney knew what was coming, and Chapek was just a fall guy because as soon as restrictions were lifted, what happened? That's right, Chapek is fired, and Iger returns as a triumphant savior of Disney. Now, I try not to believe every conspiracy theory or entertain every conspiracy thought that I have, but I also believe that if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, then it's a duck. Iger did not want to be at Disney during those 2 years because he knew it was going to be hell and that it would damage his reputation and maybe even get him fired. And legacy is what is important to Bob. He has the money. He has the power. All that is left is how he is remembered. So do I think all of that was orchestrated and predetermined? Hell yes, I do. I believe it was as scripted as a pro wrestling match with a predetermined outcome and all. The second web of lies that Iger spun was about trying to deliver to the audience what it wants, and that catering to a diverse audience is very difficult and challenging. No, it's not, Bob. Look, it does not take a genius to see that the people you are catering to, the activist creators that you are indulging, don't even watch your products. Every time you pander to a minute percentage of the population and hope that it is embraced by 100% of the population, you fail. Why? Because the ones you are pandering to don't care about your intellectual properties, and the ones who do care are turned off by your progressive messaging. Allow me to give you a lesson in customer service, Bob. I'm a meat eater. I love steak. I'm not going to go to a vegan restaurant because I do not like to consume vegan food. I am going to spend my money at the restaurant that is giving me what I want. But in your case, Bob, you advertise steak to me but deliver cauliflower, and then you get mad at me when I say I won't eat it and I won't pay for it. What a stupid way to run a business. Your audience is moderate, Bob. They are not ultra-liberal. They are not activists. They are mostly families who just want to find something for their kids to watch that does not require a family meeting before or after to explain alternative sexual lifestyles or why the princess has a mustache. And by the way, race swapping, gender swapping, sexual orientation swapping are not marketing tricks that work. And it's not about being racist or sexist or homophobic. If you want to make a film about a gay character, then great. Make that film with an original character. And let's see how many of the LGBTQ plus community come out to support it. I doubt many of them will because they haven't yet. But you can't because your activist creators do not understand the idea of creation. No, activists are interested in only one thing: destruction. Don't believe me? Then tell me, what did January 6th and the summer of BLM riots have in common? They destroyed things. Nothing was built. Nothing was created. And that is who you have hired, people who believe in destruction.
I couldn't help but notice a thread through each of these, that the men were assholes. And I'm wondering, as one of them, what is the balance of activating a force for change, but also trying to permeate that patriarchy, that power structure? And is that a part of the calculation of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
And when the fans of those intellectual properties reject the films and television shows you put out because we just cannot stand to see the things we love bastardized and destroyed on the altar of woke, what do? You blame us, which is typical behavior for narcissists. So no, Bob, I do not believe you. You are not trying to give the audience what it wants. You are trying to give the audience what you want. You want your progressive message delivered, digested, and accepted, because for you, controlling thought and influencing social policy is power and legacy, everything someone like you holds dear. And as evidence for my opinion, I give you this: the following announced projects and upcoming releases from Disney. The Rey Skywalker movie. with an activist feminist director with no experience making a film of this magnitude. Snow White, 2025. The Acolyte, Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe the only one thing we can all agree on that we have true hope for. And then there's this. Can you tell me something, Bob? Do you think this is what your audience wants? Can you point to the marketing data that says it will be more popular and profitable to cast a female Silver Surfer instead of the original, ultra popular, and ultra recognizable character that every comic book fan has been waiting to see? I don't think you can. And that's why I won't pay money to see the Fantastic Four movie. You see, I want to order a steak, and you want to serve me raw cauliflower. Nothing against cauliflower, it's healthy, and I'm sure it can be tasty if prepared the right way, but I don't want it. I want my steak. So I'll find a restaurant that'll give me what I want, and I'll make that my new hangout. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. And from south of the border, I'm still your reluctant gringo. Salud, and a huevo.